Welcome, Jimmy, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about the Crimson Shadows, this new album, Whispers of War, and more things related to the metal world in general. So, we are starting by asking, how are you doing today? How is the band in the last couple of years?
Everything's been doing well, honestly, for the last couple of years. We've just been putting this album together with the writing, recording, all the producing. We did it all ourselves. So it's a lot harder when you have yourself to answer for as opposed to doing it with a label and everything else like that. But everything's been great. Now the album just got released last Friday. The response has been great so far. Lots of kind words. Thank you for the great review on the album as well too. Glad to hear that you're enjoying it as well.
Amazing, amazing. So, and when we're talking about from this Whisper of War, when do you decide writing songs from this new album? Because there is 11 years from the second album. Obviously, there is an EP in the middle, for
Yeah.
5 years, 5 years ago for the Resurrection, but that EP
hmm
has two covers, so one and just one song. So in this so when do you decide to start writing songs for this new album? It was during transition from the previous album, or for the previous EP, or all the songs are new, or perhaps do you rescue any compositions for the previous albums? Who knows?
It's the writing process for this album has been ongoing since our last album 11 years ago. We wrote songs, we scrapped songs. There were times, I mean, obviously with COVID and everything that happened, that kind of shut the world down for a bit. So that put a damper on us being even able to get together, to rehearse together, do all things like that. But a couple of songs like Dawn of an Age and Guardians, those songs are almost about 8 years old now. But some of the newer songs, like the last song on the record, The Rise of the Fallen Soul, that was one of the more recent songs that we wrote. So we wanted to try and keep the sound the same, and try and keep the whole album as a cohesive unit. But as far as the timeline for writing all this stuff, it's been an ongoing process where we constantly come back into it and change things. And there are some songs like Battle Hard 2, for instance. That song, half of it was completely rewritten after we had already pretty much laid it down in stone, but we found a better way for that song, and we really like the way that it turned out.
Mm, okay, okay. And well, with this situation of the composition of this Whisper of War, the next question will be, I think, the common one for this. So why the band delayed 11 years to release a new album? I think it's a common one in all interviews. So why the band delayed 11 years? Even there's a EP in the middle, but just one
For
song new.
sure.
The other two are covers.
Well, there was a short period of time for a couple years where I left the band
Mhm.
between 2015 to pretty much the beginning of 2018 is when the guys asked me to come back. So during that time, they had another singer, Paul, who is the singer for a band called Blackguard. They're really
Okay.
good. Check them out for sure.
Mhm.
Um, so he was singing with Crimson for a bit, and Paul had other commitments, and it was good for me to come back into the band. So that in and of itself was a bit of a delay, and to come back as well. And like I said, COVID as well too. In Canada, we had one of the longest lockdowns in the whole world. So we got locked down pretty much from March of 2020 to about December of 2022. There was a couple moments in between where for a couple months here and there we were allowed to go outside and be and converse and be with each other, but for the most part, you're not allowed to do any of that stuff. So that in and of itself also took a while as well too. And we were we had decided to end it with Napalm,
Mm.
and then we were shopping around for some labels as well
Okay.
too for that, but then decided that the independent route was probably the best way for us.
Oh,
So all in
amazing.
all, that takes about 11 years, I guess.
Okay, yeah, 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 and yeah, and well, you mentioned about this new album not releasing with independently, so by yourself for this one. So, but
Yeah.
then in the previous album was released with Naples Records, a great label in the world.
for
And
sure.
so, and for this situation, why do you decide to release this album independently and not with a, obviously, with a Naples Records with the previous album? Because the other album was a huge one, a great one in your career. And why did
Yeah.
you decide to release this new album by yourself?
Well, I mean, I think as many people know that when you got a label and when you have a team like that, there are a lot of different ways that the pot is split.
Mhm,
And although we had a very good relationship promotional wise with Napalm,
mhm,
it wasn't very profitable for the band. So in today's day and age, we thought that with advertising, we can do our own YouTube, maybe try and do it all ourselves and see if
okay.
we can bring the money in. And that's why with this new album, everything that is gone that goes towards it. Anytime anybody buys an album or buys a shirt, it just goes directly to us. There's no middlemen at all, which is nice. And then we turn around and use that money back into the band as well.
Okay, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting to know. And the other thing, the other part of because the situation of this is, as you can see, there is just not you. A lot of bands are trying to release the so their material by themselves. So in this situation,
Hmm.
that's like a train now because they're trying to really, as you said it, is you will receive all the earns for this for the purchases, t-shirts, CDs, etc. All you will receive it. So in this situation, how do you see these new tendencies for all now new bands are trying to release the material by themselves, and also how important to you now is to have a label in this world when when you said it there you can
Hmm.
do with ads in all social medias and you just pay the situation to promote your music.
Well, I think there are benefits to both, right? When you're with the label, you have a whole team. It's you have a lot of people whose full-time job it is to help you out.
Mhm,
But also there's only a finite amount of resources that a label has to help out a band. And quite frankly, Crimson Shadows is not the biggest band in the world, so
mhm,
we don't get as much of an eye on us as some of the much bigger bands that are on the label, who quite frankly are doing a lot better than us at the time, which is
mhm,
fine. But if you have to wait on others to do something that you want to do, it kind of hamstrings your development.
mhm,
So in that case, if you're a smaller band and you're able to get some hype behind you, uh, we are of the opinion that we should probably just do it ourselves. Now, granted, once again, if things were to change and if things get incredibly busy, and if we get a good offer from a label, then absolutely everything is worth entertaining. But right now, for us, doing it all ourselves and being able to control everything that we want, we think that's the best direction.
mhm.
And I think going off what you were saying before, I think a lot of other bands are quite frankly realizing the same thing. They're
That is.
realizing that hey, like we can purchase our own Facebook ads, we can purchase our own Instagram ads, we can make our own music videos, we can put it up and promote them all ourselves, which is exactly what a label does, but they just take um if you have a good deal, the label will take 75% and give the artist 25%. But a lot of the times now, a lot of the deals are closer to the label taking 80, even 85%. And sometimes they do a thing called a 360 deal where they take uh, everything for your merchandise, even if you get paid guarantees for shows that they don't even book, they take a cut. So if you do everything yourself, then you just get all the money, but you also are held accountable to yourself.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, yeah, I understand completely. And when this situation, I saw that well, just one album, well, just the album and the EP was released under the Enable Records. But if your other EPs, your first album, it was released independently, so it could be just a trend for the band, especially for this. So now, well, other thing that captured my attention in the music of the Crimson Shadows, especially is because the label. So you can see when I hear your music, since Death Power Glory, you
Yeah.
have you have an information about it. You play like power metal or extreme power metal. because I
Yeah,
remember when Dragon Force appears in the world, and the media went crazy saying that this is extreme power metal. This is not power metal because so fast blast beats, etc., into the power metal. So now you are trying to mix your power metal or another styles there. So how do you label
yeah.
the the music from Crimson Shadows? We can still say power metal. We can say melodic death metal, or who knows, extreme power metal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like there's so many genres and so many ways that people can probably describe us, but when we refer to it ourselves, we always just called it power death and just power metal and death metal together. But I mean, obviously, we do have the influences of people have heard of Dragon Force, Children of Bodom, Amon Amarth. Like we grew up listening to that Scandinavian melodic death metal as well as German and Swedish power metal and Italian power metal as well too. So everything it was kind of cool that we all like lived in a town that is not known for metal or anything, and we all managed to find each other, and we all just grew up listening to the same stuff without even really knowing each other too much. But yeah, I guess like we have heard people called us like melodic power death, any anything like that. That all sounds good, but we just call it power death.
Okay, okay. Now we're talking about a little more about the promotion for these Crimson Shadows. So, what kind of plans do you have for this album? So, perhaps you will embark some more tours. You will release more videos because this new album has a lot of videos now. So, perhaps you
Yeah,
will release more videos, or perhaps you're already working a new album because there is 11 years of difference for the previous one, and perhaps some songs is still or on with you for the new album.
yeah. Essentially, what we had decided when we were going to do Whispers of War, when we originally did the Resurrection, right before COVID shut everything down, we had a tour planned for that EP. We had a couple music videos also planned, but everything shut that down. So kind of put all those plans on hold. But when we were talking about Whispers of War, we all had that conversation where we sat down of like, okay, well, we're gonna write an album and we're gonna, I guess this is what we're doing again. Like we're just jumping back into it, and Crimson Shadows is becoming a serious part of our lives again. So we already have 7 songs written, pretty much done. Uh, after Whispers of War, uh, we do have plans. We have a couple tour offers in the moment now that we've been talking about that hopefully will come to fruition. There's more music videos. We noticed that with social media, that guitar playthrough, drum playthrough, and vocal one take videos seem to be a thing that fans enjoy watching. And quite frankly, we're interested in putting out any type of product that they are interested in seeing. If they want stuff where the guys just shred on the guitars, and we'll give them that. I know people have talked about Corey's drumming on this new album, and he has some plans for some drum playthroughs as well.
Mm. Okay. Amazing, amazing. Now, well, with this situation that's for you, well, let's talk about more about the power metal because the power metal around the world is like one of the styles that's stagnated with the ancient bands right now, with the
Yeah,
Halloween, Blind Guardian, Stratovarius, and also I saw that your last EP you play a song from Stratovarius, and in general
yeah.
the huge bands. But then
Hmm.
for a lot of people now the power metal is a lot of people is waiting songs from Sabaton, from Powerwolf, but for me
It's like
that's those.
a
Yes,
baritone style of power metal now.
yeah, but these two bands for me is now these two bands has more than 20 years on the world. But for me,
Yeah.
these two bands is not like this something bring special in the power metal. For me, it's the same as the power metal from the oldest. Just the only one is Dragon Force, and and you receive a lot of influence from Dragon Force. Now,
Yeah.
how do you see now the power metal in the world? Do you think that there is another band in the world that they change the games of the rule like Dragon Force, like Halloween, Blind Order in the future? Because the power metal has
Hmm.
like 5 fingers, not more
Yeah, for
fingers than.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's power metal, is like essentially like a subgenre of a subgenre as well
Mhm.
too. So I I genuinely hope that that scene explodes because I think Japan is one of the best metal communities. It's crazy how they've cultivated this small like little Japanese community with all their Japanese releases and how they make all the CDs look the same and there's a very cohesive unit that they've put together. It's definitely something to be admired. And I really hope that I'm glad that people like yourself in Peru know about that stuff as well too, because I know in Canada there's not many people who know about those bands. When I talk about them, I'm usually the one introducing them to other people. So it's excellent to hear that you know about those bands as well too. Hopefully they get a lot bigger.
Okay, nice, nice. So, and one, just, well, in this situation, we're talking about more the technicality now, the intrinsic music, because since the 90s or since the 80s, the last 80s or the latest 80s, the extreme music pushed the boundaries from the music. All the time, great musicians pushing the blast beats. In Canada, one of the first one, it was Floyd Money from Cryptopsy that
Yeah, for
put
sure.
put the gravity blast beats in the death metal. Now a lot of bands plays like him. That's
Yeah.
a huge man there. And also Gorguts bring the dissonance in the death metal and a lot of
Yeah,
things.
for
And
sure.
a lot of things. All the time, this technicality into the extreme music is pushed by the death metal, especially. The death metal brings this topic in the world. Before of them, there is no technicality in the world. It was Iwi Maltais and Greek Hugh. That is a lot of technicality, but not as
Yes.
with extreme music. Now you can see around the world there is a thousand or there's I don't know there's a thousand of musicians, bass,
Yeah.
guitar, vocalists, drummers, a lot in YouTube. You can see one just put in YouTube. You can see I don't know a lot of people trying to do their best with the instrument for this one. Now, but
For
with this
sure.
situation, now a lot of musicians playing so clean, so technical, and some stuff the raw part for the 90s lost during the transition to play better. And the death metal has some the blame to bring this situation to the scream music especially. So now, what's your opinion about now this cleanness into the extreme music and the super technicality musicians that we have now? That is not comparing nothing with the 80s or the 90s.
Oh, for sure. For sure now. It's my opinion of it is I think we when we all grew up, we
Mhm,
all knew a person that was just better than everybody, whether it be at guitar or bass or drums. We all had
mhm,
somebody who was in our community, and we all knew that that person played for that band. That's the best guy. Like he's probably the best, and nobody's better than him. But now with YouTube, it's really easy for that guy to get on camera and
mhm,
play a solo that everybody's lost. Like now it seems like the status is that if you can play necrophagist,
mhm,
everybody likes you type of
mhm,
thing. So everybody's trying to play stab wound as perfectly as possible online. I think that I am one. I appreciate both sides of it. I do really like the feel and the live aspect where everything isn't just so to the click, snap to the grid. You can feel the aggression, you can feel everything behind it. But also, I appreciate the extreme technical death metal, like you mentioned before, like the new Cryptopsy album, things like that, where everything is just so perfectly tight and so heavy, and it makes you can almost feel it in your chest.
mhm,
That type of stuff I love as well too. It's a happy medium because there's obviously the bands that do it so well on their album and then you just get disappointed when you see them live and you realize that they can't do it, that it's all studio magic. They don't it feels that they don't practice the stuff enough and that's the disappointing part. I always found that seeing a band live was better than listening to the album. And a lot of times when I would listen to the album after seeing a band live, I would remember what they're doing on stage at the part that I'm listening to, and I associate those memories together. But when everything's like too clean, it's hard to get the feel of it, you know? I guess that's my general opinion of it is that I do like the technical death metal that does sound completely perfect, but I think personal preference wise, I like the stuff that is more it's more by feel.
Hmm.
It doesn't the technicality only goes so far. You got to feel something.
Okay, 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 okay. Well, yeah, that is correct. That is correct. Well, for me, it's the same in this situation. So, and when we're talking about another kind of things, especially for the Canada, Canada all brings to the fans or in extent to the media just ultra technical music. Since Rush is progressive or is technical, I don't know why, but Canada is like this. Since Rush, we have progressive, then Voivod progressive, Annihilator technical trash in the first two albums. Then Cryptopsy appears, brutal, ultra technical. Then Gorguts put a lot of technical, and now we have Archspire with a lot of
Yeah.
technical. And all these bands are super technical since the
Hmm.
beginning. So, what do you think? Why always Canada brings these kind of musicians and bands? And also, your music is so technical with a lot of
Thank you.
stuff there.
Thank you. I think a lot of times I think our climate has something to do with it. When you're stuck inside for 4 or 5 months out of the year because it's really cold in the wintertime, you got a guitar, like you can scream in a room by yourself, you can play some drums. So I think it's one of those things that if you have like the benefit of if you have the benefit of a lot of distractions, then maybe it's easier to do other things. But for people in our position, a lot of the times in the wintertime when it gets down to -20, -25, it's just don't want to go outside. But who knows? Maybe you'll sit down and pick up a guitar for a couple hours. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's true or not. I heard some guys. I once talked to some guys from Sweden, and they said the same thing too. They're like, "Yeah, the Swedish scene is so good because they don't get sunlight for 4 months out of the year, and it's -30 all the time. So everyone's just inside playing guitar. There's nothing else to do."
Okay, okay, and we are very close to end this interview, Jimmy. And for this one, another thing about this, well, you can see now the tendencies in live presentation is that the producers are not using more anymore just amps. They're using plug direct to connect to the board with
Yeah.
plugins, no more amps. Just the big bands now
Hmm.
has the amps for space. But the smaller ones, the producer has the option to just to the board, direct to the console. Just one people handle everything. No, just like the old times, just 3 or 4 people helping you to for the guitar, for the amps, to sounds rehearsal, or either way. A lot of things it was there, but now since last 5 years to 6 years, a lot of people for the producers are using this kind of technology for obviously to cheap this to just not to invest a lot of money in one concert to take advantage for the technology. So now,
For sure.
what's your opinion about now this situation with the new live presentation that's not be any longer amps and this kind of thing, or crowd guys.
For sure. Currently, Crimson Shadows, we are still a band that plays with amps and everything like that, and we bring them with us, much to our detriment. We have to carry them all up staircases and everything like that, and it takes up a lot of room in a big trailer. So I totally understand that with the new way that things are going, that audibly you there are a lot of most of the people cannot tell the difference between an analog system and a digital system. So it's understandable then that bands are moving towards that route. Also, the fact of from a transport perspective, if you can have your both guitar rigs, your bass rig, everybody's wireless unit, and have a mixer all just inside one box, and that becomes the thing that you travel with, and then drums just become the most cumbersome thing that you have to move around. I totally understand it. But if you have the means, personally, I'm I'm an old school guy. I love listening to tube amps and all that stuff. And I used to love seeing going to shows and looking at the back line of my favorite artists and just being like I remember going to see Dream Theater and just being like, John Petrucci has a Mesa Boogie Road head, and looking over at John Mayung and being like, oh, that's a Galen Kruger head that he's got, and oh, look at that, Jordan Rudess is playing a Korg and stuff like that. And I would love looking at all that gear. And now there's no backline. There's nothing to for bands. It's everything's all wireless. Everybody's got in-ears and they go on. And maybe Crimson Shadows will be able to get to that point sometimes, but behind the scenes wise, it is an incredible investment. You're looking at least for us for where we live, it's north of 10,000. You're probably looking closer to $15,000 all in for that type of rig. And I know my guitar players, my bass player, and myself, we've all invested in all of our equipment already. So making a transition like that would be a very big financial jump for us. So at the moment, we are still using tube amps with cat 412 cabs. I believe Greg plays a 5150, and Ryan alternates between a 5150 or a Joe Satriani JSX. He just whatever he feels at the time, that'll be his tone for the night.
Okay, okay. Well, Jimmy, we arrived to the sad moment of this interview. I hope you enjoyed this interview like me. This album is a great one. Congratulations on this return back from 11 years. It's a great one.
Thank you.
So I hope you someday come here to for a Latin tour. Who knows? And
I
perhaps
would
do what?
love it would be a dream come true. I've always wanted to come down there and play some shows.
Great. And perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and obviously Metallica followers?
I just want to say thank you so much for checking us out and taking the time to watch this interview. I know there are a lot of people who do not know about us, but please come check us out. And if you like what you hear, please tell your friends. And just remember, if you ever choose to buy anything from us, it all goes directly to us. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to talk to yourself and all the fans in Peru and everybody else who may be coming out to check out your wonderful production.